Hello. Sorry, y'all. One, I lost track of time. Two, I don't know if I ate something. This got me feeling a little nauseous. I don't like that. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Besides me feeling yucky, I hope everyone has had what's today, y'all? Wednesday. I also forgot to send Bree the link, so I'm also trying to do that at the same time. I don't know how I did that. Um, Hold on. Let me do that. I'm good. I think like I don't know if I ate something. Like, but I didn't eat anything unusual today. So that's weird. And it smells like my laptop's on fire. Listen, I mm, no, I don't know. It might be Jessica. I ate some mango. Um, I haven't eaten mango that's the only thing I could think of that is making me feel like I don't know. Because that is weird. Okay. So it's the first it is the first live show of the comic book club year. Apparently we started off with a banger, huh? Cuz from what I can tell, uh y'all had a doozy with this one, huh? I was following along. If there's anybody in here that is that didn't realize it, um we do have a Discord. And the Discord is where people can talk about everything. So if there's anybody here that's not a part of that, um, just know that that is a thing that does exist. Just to give you a heads up. We sure did. No, this is it. I listen. I figured that it might have been a great way to um it might have been a great way to start off. So I did not reread, um, just in case for people who are hello, sending good vibes through dark times. I feel that energy. For those who may be watching this on playback that are not aware, we and Jessica is probably going to correct me on this because I feel like I'm not going to get this right again. We read Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, correct? I think I always say beneath the trees where nobody lies, and that's not true. It's beneath the trees where nobody sees. Um, I read this closer towards the end of last year, before it came out in September, because I had to read it issue by issue. Um, so I didn't reread, and so I didn't read the trade. I read it, issues 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Um, I didn't realize it was a bear on the cover. I always do. I don't know why I want to say that. But let's get started. What is everyone's rating? I feel like there's going to be a lot of 4 and 5 stars. Just based off of the vibes in the chat and just the responses that happened here. I feel like it's a 4 or 5 star read. 5 stars, 4.5. Yeah, I figured that a lot of people enjoyed it. Yeah, it came out as issues first, but, the trade came out in September, so by the time that we did the schedule for this year, we, we were able to see that it was a trade. Hoopla had it as a trade. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5. Um, to be honest with you, I did not know. Like, did anybody have any inclinations on what to expect going into this one? Like, did you have any ideas um thinking about what this was about? Three, but it might have just been my mood. I thought it was okay. Okay, okay, okay. So some middle of the road. I think from the covers, I don't know if I now I'm gonna go back and look at some of the issue covers, and I'm not too sure if I knew what this was because I didn't read a summary. There wasn't really much of a summary, um, at all, and so I think the bear walking with the bag that clearly had some blood in it. I didn't know what we were getting into, right? Um, Clearly there's probably some horror or uh not great elements when you have someone carrying or dragging a bag that is leaving trails of blood. But still, even then, I don't think I knew what I was getting into because I would not think that we are following a main character that is essentially a serial killer. Yeah, yeah, like, I think so too. It it's you would think Zootopia, but I think what shocked me, I'm gonna be quite honest with y'all, what shocked me more than anything is when we got to the artwork. The artwork for me is what made it even more disturbing, and I'm glad that Marista shared it in the Discord. It looks if you've ever seen Richard Scarry, right? It looks just like that. Um, it for me, it felt like a mix between Richard Scarry and the Bearson Bears. And so looking at that artwork, I think made it even more disturbing because those are two things that I link very strongly to childhood. Um, and so as a millennial who would have grown up watching the Bears and Bears TV show, reading the books, watching Richard Scarry, reading the books, I think it made it even more disturbing because it was like you feel this connection to your childhood. Um, it makes you feel this sense of nostalgia, but then you feel weird feeling that nostalgia because you're like, but it's about a serial killer. And I shouldn't feel like I shouldn't feel this connection um, to the story, considering how dark it is. I think that there was that element of it artistically is what really got me. If you've never been a part of our comic book club before, because I think there were a couple people who were newer. Um, Art, of course, is for me one of the biggest things when it comes to comics, graphic novels, manga. It can easily make or break it. And so for this one, it was very striking to walk into a story where it's like, wow, my childhood. And then it's like, oh shit, Spears a serial killer. It was like, it is like the most adorable murders ever. And it creates these very weird feelings. And I love a comic book or graphic novel or manga that can evoke some type of emotional response and one that is so intense that it has you questioning, like, what am I supposed to be feeling in this moment? Like, you know, for a fact, like, this is jacked up, right? But you have other feelings too. Um, yes. Then, so really, um, before we really dive into the story, right? I think one of the things that was so interesting was we didn't know what made some of the animals anthropomorphic and what made other ones just regular animals. Because we see our main character interact or come into contact with other bears, but it's interesting too when you have a town that's made of animals that also eats animal. Cannibal. It's cannibalism because of the fact that you have these animals going to a I can't remember the name of the like the diner, and they're eating things like bacon and eggs, and it's like, but how are y'all eating these things and you're eating your own fellow? It was such, I'm telling you, that's probably one of the reasons why I enjoy this so much. I think if I put all of my ratings together, you would probably get somewhere between like a 4.25 and a 4.5. Because I think I went through, maybe I rated the whole thing as well, but I also feel like yeah, so reading every single issue, um, it was very interesting how my ratings would line up. Um, so yes, it not what's a little cannibalism between, but really at the end of the day, it really was cannibalism amongst friends. Um, I had to a point by the time we got to the second issue, I felt there was another conflicting moment for me because of the pig who ends up who ends up getting slaughtered. And I felt so conflicted because I was like, damn, that was pretty gruesome. But also like she was a bitch and wanted to boss up with a whole serial killer on the loose. And I was like, I should feel sorry for you, but literally they said that you have curfew. There's a curfew. You shouldn't be going out by yourself. You should like, and it was kind of like you didn't care. You wanted to boss up. You wanted to make these decisions, and you knew that there was a serial killer on the loose. Everyone knows, bitch. Not the Karen. And I felt once again, it was one of those conflicting things. It was like, damn, like she got she got fucked up. But then at the same time, it's like, not my fault. Like, not, I can't, like, it's hard for me to feel empathy for you when you knew better. You knew better. Um, I think that it was, I think it was interesting to go with a theme, um, where we have a serial killer who's trying to track down another serial killer. I think someone said it in in the Discord. It definitely gave Dexter vibes, and I haven't seen a lot of Dexter, but I thought that that was an interesting element to work with, where it's like it almost has you rooting for a serial killer, which also, once again, is like, how messed up of a person am I that I'm literally kind of rooting for a serial killer to find this other serial killer, because she's very methodic in how she goes about killing. She's very particular about how she kills, and she's neat about it, and she's very clean and precise about it, and she makes sure that yes, because the Townie murders were super gruesome, and so she's very particular about how she does it. I was so freaked out at one point though. Like, I think the reality check for me was her putting the blood into the paint cans. That's when it was like, okay. Like, I I was kind of I think those panels were the panels that probably kinda were like, "Oh, wow." Like, that's low key wild that you are so methodical in how you which is, I mean, is very indicative of a serial killer, but I think seeing it and how she's very particular in how she seeks out her victims, how she gets them, and then is able to figure out how to, get rid of the body, and the draining and the quartering and slicing, it was like, "Yo!" Yes, and, like, I was like I think that's what I'm saying, y'all. I think the shock value of this was insane. It was just like and there was, like, no holding back. We're going to show you every single aspect of it, and the way she panicked with the paint cans, it was like, if we're hiding body parts and paint cans, and you have another serial killer who's connecting with you and wants to work with it's just it was such a twisted story. I think even um without me having reread it, this is the first time I've ever talked about this, I think, like, out loud. And the more that I talk about it and the more I keep going back to certain things that really stuck out to me, I think I'm so shell shocked. It did. It did. It and I think that was what was so maybe disturbing for her, is that there was a very precise order and routine to the things in the town, um, that having someone come in and disturb it and that's what gave it for me, I think that Richard Scary vibe to it is how routine everything was for that town, and that she would leave in order to fulfill her urges and then come back. It was. It wait, what did Jess say? I must have missed the comment. Where was it? Oh, yeah. 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 And that's true. It's horrifying, but it's entertaining, and it man, shoot. Talk about having me question myself. Doug was walking around with his brain out when she was hiding. Yeah, yeah. But when we think about, too, the end of what she had to do in order to protect herself, I mean, she is the prime example of, like, someone who has no emotion and is able to, um, emulate emotion, right? When we think about it in the grand scheme of things, because she was in that town, got along very well with everyone. But by the time I got to the end of the 6th issue, I was like, she would do whatever she needed to do in order to protect herself. And it you have to remember that because then you kinda low key feel sorry for her, right? At least for me. I felt bad. I was like, "Oh, I don't want her to get caught." But that's the psychological part of this comic that kinda low key fucked with my mind because you have to think about it. When you're reading this, you're rooting for her. You're rooting for her not to get caught. You want her to figure out who the killer is. You want her to figure out who the killer is so she can be safe. And in my head, I'm thinking like, but but she's a serial killer too. I feel that. I think I was so caught up in the story. Like I was so caught up in the story. I didn't want her to get caught. Which when you that's insane. That's that's insane. But for me too, that's a mark of good writing. So not only do we have like so much emotions that we're feeling in terms of the art, especially if you're familiar with those shows. Um, Bears and Bears, you're familiar with uh Busy Busy Town, right? So you have that with the art, but I also love that you have these emotions that come with the actual writing itself. Like you are rooting for someone who has the markings of a sociopath and is a serial killer. And then when you step back and you think about it, you're like, "Wait, I'm literally like saying, I don't want her to get caught. She's getting it's unfair. She's getting framed." There was a point where I was like, "This is so fucked up that she's getting framed for this and she didn't do it." But meanwhile, when you think about it, we've gotten panels of her engaging in the same behaviors. Not as gruesome. She's very methodic and clean about her methods, but she's doing the same thing. And it is and then I think that's the point where it brought me back to reality, right? When this is a friend that she's had for years, and I can't even remember if someone can remember, or if you remember, drop it in the chat. This is a friend that she's known for years, years and years. This is not someone that she met 6 months ago or they just struck up a brand new friendship. This is someone that she's known for a while. And that was my point of clarity, like, "Whoa, I have been rooting for someone who if it came down to it, I will kill you, who I've known for years, and anyone else to protect me and allow me to continue to do what I need to do in order to, um, quench my appetite." And then that's when it clicks like, there you go, Jessica. She can't have friends. Everything about her is such a facade. And I know for me, I can't speak for anyone else. It doesn't click and it didn't really resonate for me until that moment where I was like, "Oh, wait. Yeah, no, she can't have friends. She doesn't feel any connection to anyone, right? She doesn't she doesn't value any type of friendship or familial connections. That's why she's alone. Um, and as soon as she knew, and that's amazing that Lola knew, still wanted to be her friend, still cared about her, but she's incapable of feeling that same emotion. And so it was like, you and your child are a threat to me. You got to go. And then the way she strategically set the bodies. You had this, I mean, the amount of intelligence that it takes to set this up. But then you know what, y'all? Did you ever think when you were reading this, like, well, she's a bear? Are bears not like it? Is this not something instinctual bears would do? And then you think, like, well, am I kind of like pushing like human behavior onto something that is literally an animal? There's so many that are planner girl. Yeah, I think that was I don't know if that was, like, intentional by the creator, right, to make us to maybe give us a hint to make that connection when she's interacting with those bears, like, she has human characteristics, but at the base of her nature, this is a bear, right? And I think that maybe that was a hint to that, but because they're anthropomorphic, I couldn't help but assigning human values, emotion, characteristics to these animals. But they're animals at the end of the day. And so for her to act in this way, I mean, she is a bear. It's sorry, y'all. It's fascinating. You're gonna have to remind me. I tell you, a post viral cough is insane. Um, there were just a lot of I think a lot of contradictions in this comic. Um, and it's interesting. I also wonder too about whether um I wondered if this was any type of commentary. This could be me reading too much into it, but part of me also wondered if this was any commentary on how much animals are anthropomorphized, if that's even a word, in children's literature, right? Like I think about and not the more sinister ones that have come out in recent years, right? Because Warrior Cats and Wings of Fire are not good examples of that because they definitely act within their nature. Um, but things like The Wind in the Willows, Stuart Little, the like all of those creatures have things about them um that putting them in clothes and making them talk, and instantaneously we have this idea that they're innately friendly, and they're not. Like, to think that there are a set of bears dressed up in clothes teaching us about kindness and responsibility, it's very interesting that in children's literature, animals are used as a means to teach us human values. I didn't think about that until I after I finished that, I was like, that's interesting. So not only just a nostalgia aspect of it, but if you read a lot of children's literature, especially picture books, and that's kind of like an issue in children's literature in terms of like representation, is how many picture books center animals. And these animals are teaching kids lessons. And it's really kind of low key when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. It's low key very disturbing because it is not in the nature of these animals to do these things. I like think about the fable of what is it? The lion and the cat. I mean, the lion and the mouse, where it's the mouse saved the lion, and it's like or it's the two. I forget which way it goes. I think it's the mouse continuously helps the lion. But we know in any real world situation, right? Like that's not a thing that's going to happen. But we use things like that in order to teach kids about helping each other and kindness and not judging people by their appearance. It's very fascinating when we can just use humans to do that, right? instead of just, um, instead of just assigning them human values to teach kids lessons. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, it's just it's very fascinating, and I didn't really think about it that way, and I don't know if that was, like, the creator's intention, that's just my mind kind of going off into the deep end thinking about, like, I wonder if inspiration came from that, if, the creator's been around kids or just from their childhood, you think about how much animal representation is in kids lit and how we give them morals and values when animals that is not a thing. um, Instead of just using humans to teach morals and values. It's I don't know. I wanted to go back up to this comment that y'all had about the widowed cat. That was a very good misdirect. I have to agree because I was going so far into that and truly believe that that was where we had our issue, but it was not. Um, and so that was well plotted. That was very, and me reading it issue by issue, I think not having the story as a whole, um, it felt very cliffhangery. I finished an issue. Did a show, been also impressed and disturbed. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a lot of people who, were impressed and disturbed. by this story. If y'all have the opportunity to um go and look at these single issue covers, I recommend. They're very interesting too, because issue 5, the cover is y'all probably are not gonna be able to see it because of my light on my phone. I don't know if you can. You probably can. It's that you see the duck? So if you have the opportunity to look at the issue covers, I highly recommend it. I part of me, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, part of me wants some more of this story. I really would love to get more of Samantha and this town. I just think she is a cold, heartless bitch, but I wanted her to be warm or to have some warmth to her, and it was never gonna happen. I wanted so much more. I think that's why when I go through and I look at my single issue ratings, it's not a 5. And that's selfish of me because I want more, and I know that I think this is one of those um limited series where we're only going to get this one volume and then that's it. But it coming out of IDW does have some bangers sometimes. Um yes, 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 yes. Yeah, that was me because I read each issue through Hoopla um before it came out as a trade. I believe they announced more after Discuss. Did they? Hold on, I'm about to look because I now just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean I I don't know. Marissa, if you can find it, please share in the Discord because I hadn't heard anything, to be honest with you. Um I hadn't seen anything. I'm looking right now, but I don't think I remember something about us getting more after issue 6 dropped last year. Maybe. I don't did you see it on social media or did you see it because I haven't seen not a thing. Yeah, Alyssa, seeing it come from IDW is they got a good one and it did well amongst people who um read quite a few comics. Oh, I see it now. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Wait. No. No, right as spring. Oh, okay. Hold on. So apparently, I'm on his Instagram. Beneath the trees where nobody sees, right as spring, signature series, and get the sequel. Huh. Hold on. Yeah, they just posted this a week ago. Okay, y'all. So, Rite of Spring is a direct sequel that revisits Woodbrook in the early 90s, about 8 years after the events of the first book. The community has struggled to process the trauma of the murders, and it's now facing a turning point and identity crisis in this new era of connection. Suburban sprawl is changing the landscape and atmosphere of the town, and the rise of the internet opens old wounds when a true crime sleuth in search of her missing brother traces evidence back to Sam. Yes. Okay. So this is getting a sequel. Um, let's see when the first issue comes out. See if I can find anything. So that's great. So we are okay. So let's see. It is 2025. It's only 3 issues. I think it's only 3 issues. I could be wrong. Huh. Um, pre. I just see pre-order. I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing a date attached to it. Well, let's see. IDW. Oh, it's sold out, y'all. Oh no, this is saying the never mind. The original one sold out and went to a second printing, which is really, really good. Um, no, it's not saying anything in terms of a date. Okay, so we know at least that it is getting a sequel. The sequel is supposed to drop this year, and Patrick teased the potential of a possible wider franchise. So we may get more than just this one sequel. We may get a little bit more. Okay. Well, that answers our questions. So we will get us here. We will get I'm going to follow him just so I don't miss out. But if you try to pre-order it, y'all, you you can't. Like it's already sold out. At least only from Carl.net current. Da, da, da. Hold on. Or maybe that's just a special edition of it. Hmm. I don't know. They may have. They may have just assumed, and I wonder if that's something that will be addressed. If maybe um Nigel was they think that Nigel was responsible. Okay, so there's no date. I just went to League of Comic Geeks to see if they had a date attached to it, and if there was a date attached to it, they would have that date. So it's to be determined, but it is coming out this year. Um, but yeah, the amount of things that can be told, um, the amount of things that he can do with this world is, I mean, it's pretty massive when you think about it. There's a lot that he can do with this world. So I'm excited. I don't know about y'all, but you know what? I'm not gonna lie to y'all. We usually do get 1 or 2 series sometimes where it's good enough that it makes you want to continue outside, which is the markings of a good selection. So I am happy that we did get the chance to pick it. But I wonder, um, oh, imagine a TV series. Don't say that. Oh, what if it was animated too? Like an animated TV series, like watching an episode of Bears and Bears or watching an episode of watching an episode of Richard Scarry. That would be so good. Oh my gosh, that would be so good. Y'all, I'm happy that we did start with this one. I'm happy that we as long as it's not CGI. I listen, um if they do an animated series, I would want it to be in the same vein of what we would have seen back in the 90s, right? That type of I don't know, kids cartoons nowadays are almost too well done, if that makes sense. I'm probably not making any sense, but they almost feel overly animated. Like I would, going back and watching some old cartoons because you could like Paramount has some old cartoons that I used to watch, and going back and comparing the animation from those to animation that like my kid sees now, I it's too much. Yes, like Arthur. Arthur is a good example. I love Arthur. Like that animation style, like old school animation. I think if they did it that way, oh my gosh, it would be so good. It would be so yep, cheap, quickly done hand drawn cartoons with a nice catchy theme song. Y'all, I'm surprised nobody's bought I haven't seen, I mean, in all that I just looked at, I didn't see any word that somebody had bought the rights to it. So that must mean that it's still up for grabs. But I feel like if this sequel does good, then it could be potential. And if he decides to expand on it and create a universe, then somebody would have content for days, which would be nice. Yes, and the Bloodhound was incompetent. But I want to see, do y'all think Sam would ever get caught? I don't think she will. I think she'll always come close to getting caught, but I think she'll do whatever she needs to do to make sure she does not get caught. But I'd be interested in seeing how this story goes. Like somebody's gonna become aware of what she's doing. Somebody's gonna pick up on it and not think twice about it. If she got caught, she would plead not guilty. She would though. She would. She would. Maybe she should switch to another city. Maybe she does. Maybe he takes her out of that area. But what would that world look like? Like, are there different countries of anthropomorphic animals? Man, there's so much that he could do. I'm waiting for her to get caught, but I think she'll prevail. You saying that literally just reminded me of that Tyra Banks clip. We were rooting for you. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. I don't know why you saying that. Uh, yeah. Does anybody have any final thoughts? Anything else you want to share? Now that we started with a banger, y'all know that because we started with one that was so good, it's gonna be hard for anything else to compare to this one. And it's not to say that we don't have good selections for the rest of the year, because we definitely do. But I think because we started I don't even know if we started this strong last year. I don't feel like we started this strong last year. I do feel like because we started so strong, it's gonna be hard for anything to compare to this. We will have one at least at the 6-month mark. Yeah, I don't know. Like I there are some that I'm really, really excited for in this season of us doing this. But this was a killer way to start. This was a killer way to start the 2025 comic book club season. Let's just hope we don't have the duds that we had last, because we hit some bumps in the road last year with the book club and outside of the book club. Hit some bumps in the road. But this is definitely, I have to agree, Katie, this one is memorable. This was a memorable experience, reading experience. But speaking of our next session, listen, me too. I'm done. Yep, you're absolutely right. 2025 to 2030. Mm, mm. Fucking Clementine. And what was the one that we read, y'all, where the world, like, it didn't connect? It was like it was just weird. It's Ianu, but Ianu wasn't the one that we read. Was it Malika? The Warrior Queen one. That also, jumping from volume 1 to volume 2. That one I think was more disappointing than bad. That was one of the disappointing ones for me because I felt like that time jump in volume 2 was too much. Yeah. Killer way to start Love the Book. Yeah, that was another one that I think we expect a little bit more out of. All right. Our next selection is New Masters. Um, just a quick summary of this one. Creators for Creators 2019 grant recipients, Nigerian brothers Shobo and Shof Coker present New Masters, a groundbreaking blend of science fiction, adventure drama, and vibrant Afrofuturism, and a striking vision of West Africa under the thumb of alien colonizers. A motley crew of outcasts find themselves caught up in a power struggle for control of an ancient artifact with immense power. So we're going to be reading the first volume of the series. So that is going to be our February 2025. Definitely a little different because in this one we definitely have horror thriller vibes going on. And in February, we're going to be tapping a little bit into Afrofuturism, which will be an interesting change up. The live show for this one, if you did not know, we do our live shows the last Wednesday of every month, unless it conflicts with like a holiday or something like that. But our live show for that one will be February 26th at 8:30 p.m. EST. So remember, it's New Masters, blend of sci-fi, adventure, Afrofuturism, and the live show will be on the 26th at 8:30 p.m. EST. So that is it, my friends. I will see y'all back in the Discord. If you don't have access to the Discord, it is linked in the original announcement video if you're interested in joining the Discord group. Um, and you will get all the information, like everything is posted in there, the selections, the summaries, and everything. So I will see y'all next month, the 26th, to discuss that one. This is one that I have not read, so I'll be reading this one for the first time. But as always, I hope y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining me for tonight's conversation, and I will see y'all later.